be a man who doesn't allow women to drive in his country. The King of Saudi Arabia arrived today for the start of a controversial state visit. He'll be guest of honour at Buckingham Palace, a symbol of how important relations between the two countries are. Just last month, Britain confirmed a £20 billion contract to supply warplanes to Saudi. The country is, of course, a vital oil supplier, producing millions of barrels a day. And it's a stable Islamic state allied to the West in a pretty volatile region. So the flags are out on the Mall today, but the protesters will be out tomorrow. Britain, they say, shouldn't be rolling out the red carpet for a country with a track record of human rights abuses. Our political correspondent Chris Shipp now on Saudi's secrets.
The full red carpet treatment of a state visit was waiting for the Saudi king this afternoon. A royal welcome for King Abdullah, an honour reserved for a select number of Britain's closest allies on the world stage. But it's his country's record on human rights and its treatment of women which will be the focus of protesters during the 3 days he's here as guest of the Queen. Britons are among those who have suffered at the hands of the Saudi regime. 4 years ago, William Sampson was arrested, tortured and sentenced to death, accused of a series of bombings in Riyadh.
If our government continues to make statements about its record on promoting human rights in the global sphere, at the same time as extending all rights and courtesies to the Saudi Arabians, at the same time as refusing to criticize the Saudi Arabian record on human rights, all it does is actually damage any cause that our government will take up on these issues.
The prosperity of Saudi Arabia's gleaming cityscapes hides a darker side of this country and its poor record on human rights. Amnesty International says there are at least 3,000 political detainees held without charge or trial. This year alone, 124 people, including 3 women, have been executed. It's usually carried out by beheading, often in public. And sentences of flogging are routinely imposed by the courts. Women have severe restrictions placed upon their freedom. 70% of females are enrolled at university, but they make up just 5% of the workforce, the lowest in the world. They're not allowed to drive, nor can they vote, and charities claim domestic violence is widespread. Campaigners say with a record like that, Gordon Brown cannot fail to raise human rights when he meets the Saudi king this week.
When King Abdullah comes here, it's essential that he sees that people in Britain and the government of Britain doesn't agree with repressing the rights of people in his country.
This evening, King Abdullah swept down the Mall and into Buckingham Palace. The state visit officially begins tomorrow. The protests over his visit have begun tonight.
Chris Shipp is at Buckingham Palace this evening. Chris, there is nothing simple, is there, in the relationship between Britain and Saudi Arabia?
No, there certainly isn't. The King is inside at Buckingham Palace tonight. But when it comes to the relationship between the two kingdoms, well, you know, where do you start? The human rights that we just heard about, or the kingdom's funding of madrasas around the world? Or do you look at the dropping of that fraud investigation into allegations of corruption involved in that huge British arms deal? Despite all that, the Foreign Office today was focusing on the states' shared relationship, their shared view of the world. They said you've only got to look at the combined fight against terrorism, the British jobs that rely on the Saudi money, and of course the two states' shared view on the need to rein in Iran. The truth is it's a complex relationship, but we are linked politically and economically. If King Abdullah thought the autumn air was a bit chilly when he arrived in London tonight, it's nothing compared to the political storm he may well encounter over the next 3 days.